In this video, I'm going to be covering the top 10 most used exotics in Season 21 of Destiny 2. It's important to know what's being used and why it's being used so that you can get better at Destiny 2. It's popular among the community because A, it's good, and B, it's the best in its category. So stick around for the entire list so that you know what you should be using in Season 21. Now, if you do enjoy this content, feel free to drop a like, a subscribe, and all of that good stuff. But anyway, let's get straight into this list. Starting off the list at number 10, we have the Obelisk. This amazing kinetic linear fusion rifle is one that every Guardian should have as long as they have completed the New Light quest. This is an amazing weapon for both GMs and raids and even lost sectors. With its intrinsic anti-barrier built into the gun, this will cover any anti-barrier champions that you may encounter in all activities of Destiny 2. With it being in the linear fusion rifle category, it does some amazing damage to headshots for mini bosses and bosses. With its exotic perk, Compounding Force, this weapon fires a slug that causes massive damage to combatant shields. This weapon works really well with the new Ghost of the Deep dungeon, with both bosses in that dungeon having massive shields. Shooting one bullet from an Obelisk will instantly break that shield, meaning you and your fire team can do damage faster to that boss. If you're a solo content player and you like soloing dungeons or lost sectors, the Obelisk is something that you must have in your loadouts. It's very similar to the heavy linear fusion rifles, however, this one uses special ammo which drops a lot more frequently than heavy ammo. So if you want to use a linear fusion rifle, the Obelisk is a very good bet. Moving on to number 9, we have the Trinity Ghoul. The Trinity Ghoul is, in simple, one of the best bows in the exotic category. It has definitely the most effective ad clear capabilities out of any gun in Destiny 2. With its simple but effective perk Lightning Rod, precision kills grant the next shot a chain lightning capability. And once you've got the catalyst for it, any arc damage final blow that you get with this weapon out will also proc the Lightning Rod for you. Once you've got Lightning Rod, it's very simple to keep it up and chain it. All you have to do is get a kill with it, and then it will reload with another Lightning Rod. All you have to do is, once you get this, is literally just shoot the ground near the enemies, and the arced lightning will chain and kill everything, and then it will refund the Lightning Rod perk, so you can keep chaining and kill ads super effective. This gun is great for ad clear, and if you're ever ad clearing in a raid, or you're a solo player trying to kill a lot of ads, the Trinity Ghoul is going to be your best friend. It's a great gun, and it definitely deserves to be in the most used weapons this season. Moving on to number 8, we have the Osteo Trigger. Now, this weapon has seen a great uprise ever since Lightfall has dropped with the Strand subclass. When this weapon dropped in the Witch Queen, it wasn't really used that much, but ever since Strand has come out, it's got some great capabilities to work in conjunction with Strand and the Osteo Trigger. One build that comes to every Guardian's mind with the Osteo Trigger and Strand is the infinite suspend build that you can get going. In simple terms, all you have to do is consume your shackle grenade, shoot out the Osteo Trigger, it will apply poison, and that poison will spread, and then as enemies die, they will all get suspended by the Strand, and it's a very simple and rinse and repeat strategy that is very, very effective. Definitely one of the strongest endgame builds that you can craft as a Destiny 2 Guardian. So if you don't have an Osteo Trigger, definitely recommend getting the Witch Queen campaign finished so that you can craft this weapon. Number 7, we have the Centrifuge, which came out with the Season 21 Battle Pass. With the auto rifle buff that came last season, this makes auto rifles a contender for some of the best PvE weapons. With the Centrifuge being an arc auto rifle, and with its catalyst perk, this makes this one of the best weapons to use with an arc subclass build. In simple terms, whenever you sprint or slide, you build up the charge that this weapon holds. Once that charge is full, final blows cause enemies to explode with huge arc damage. And then on top of this, if you have the catalyst, whenever you're amplified, it slowly builds up the charge rate, meaning you don't need to sprint around as much, making it an amazing arc weapon. This weapon is also really good in PvP, so if you haven't given the Centrifuge a go yet, definitely recommend trying it out with an arc subclass. It's very fun and very effective. Coming in at number 6, we have the Quicksilver Storm. This weapon received a huge buff with Lightfall when it got its catalyst, making this a Strand weapon, and the auto rifle buff. With these two combined, this is one hell of an auto rifle, and definitely almost probably the best auto rifle you can use. When you do enough damage with this auto rifle, you can then load your next magazine with multiple homing micro rockets depending on how much damage you did. These micro homing rockets do some incredible damage considering this is a kinetic weapon. In the seasonal artifact, you can have anti-barrier auto rifles, which makes this weapon a serious contender for GM Nightfalls. Whenever you get a kill with these micro rockets, it also creates a tangle wherever that enemy dies, which is great for all of your Strand subclass builds that you have. This is a great auto rifle, and I definitely recommend giving it a try with all of your Strand subclasses. Number 5, we have the Conditional Conditional Finality. Now this weapon is arguably probably the best exotic in Destiny 2, and if it's not the best, it's definitely the most fun. Ever since I got this weapon to drop from the final boss in the Root of Nightmares, I seriously have never taken it off, and it has taken up my kinetic slot ever since. It doesn't matter what activity you're doing in Destiny, whether it's a raid or a simple nightfall, the Conditional Finality is one hell of a weapon, and it is something that you should try and get. This weapon is super effective in those harder activities, with its first shot instantly freezing any enemy if you hit enough pellets, and its second shot will then instantly ignite them, doing huge damage and killing anything around them. I find this weapon super efficient and effective at freezing harder enemies like the Wyverns. It will instantly freeze them, giving you time to reposition and coordinate with your team to take these harder enemies out. This weapon has helped me do many solo flawless achievements in the game, so if you haven't been lucky enough to get one of these weapons just yet, make sure you're doing Root of Nightmares 3 times a week, once per character, to get that weapon as soon as possible. If you can't get lucky enough, try and do some of the triumphs as well to increase those chances. Number 4, we have the Xenophage. Now the Xenophage sort of got a silent unnerf. Now what I mean by that is this weapon was nerfed a while ago when it was super powerful, making this weapon still decent but not as good as it was. Now just a few months ago, Bungie actually re-enabled this gun by improving its RPM and splitting the damage so that the impact and the AoE damage is sort of split better, gaining about a 5 to 10% damage buff overall. On top of this, with the ammo economy, you can now get a lot of bullets for this gun, making it super effective for boss damage. It is a really good weapon for nuking enemies really fast, like champions, and it is also good for a decent sustained amount of damage for something like the new Ghost of the Deep dungeon for the bosses. It is also arguably the best gun to use for Gambit when you're invading. It does 2-shot enemies, and it does great damage to the boss. The Xenophage has always been a great weapon, but players just haven't really realized that, and I think they're starting to realize it this season, and that is why it is the number 4 most used weapon in Season 21. A lot of the content in Destiny revolves around using something like LFRs or rocket launchers. However, the Xenophage is something that you should definitely consider, if not even give it a try. It switches up the flow a bit, and it can make some of these boss activities a little more exciting. Number 3, we have the Galahorn, and this will always be in the most used exotics on any season of Destiny 2. The Galahorn is Destiny. When you think of Destiny, you think of the Galahorn, and when you think of the Galahorn, you think of Destiny. With this weapon's exotic trait, Pack Hunter, this makes this weapon a must-have in all group activities when you're doing rockets for DPS. Giving your 5 other teammates Wolfpack rounds with legendary rocket launchers using bait and switch or explosive light makes those rocket launchers do so much damage, and this is why rocket launchers are really effective in doing huge boss damage. If you're that one guy that uses the Galahorn in your group raid activities, we thank you and we appreciate you. Now the second most used exotic for Season 21 is the Thunderlord. This is definitely the best machine gun in Destiny 2. It's up there for the best ad clear in the game, and also some amazing DPS when you pair it with something like the Divinity. This weapon is very satisfying to use with the lightning rounds, so I definitely recommend giving it a go. But anyway, moving on to the most used exotic in Season 21, and that is the Witherhorde. I've spoke about the Witherhorde on multiple videos. It is an amazing grenade launcher, one of the best exotics in the game for boss damage and even ad clear. The Witherhorde has been up there in the most used exotics and most used weapons in the game for multiple seasons, and it's for a good reason. With its capability to stick a boss and deal damage over time, while you can then switch to a heavy and do even more damage, is why it's the most used for all encounters of Destiny 2. The most effective way to take advantage of the Witherhorde is for 2 players to have it, one player to stick the boss to deal damage over time, and the other player to stick the ground next to the boss to also deal damage over time. With these 2 on, you can get 2 damage poison ticks over time, and both of those players can then also switch to a heavy and deal even more damage. It's a great weapon, and I assume most Guardians already have it and have been using it. But anyway, Guardians, that is the top 10 most used exotics in Season 21. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, feel free to drop a like and consider subscribing for more content just like this. But anyway, thank you, and I'll see you later.